Footnotes from the Life Application Study Bible. Matthew chapter 5 is called the Sermon on the Mount because Jesus gave it on a hillside near Capernaum. This sermon probably covered several days of preaching in it. Jesus taught people what God's kingdom is meant to be. Position, authority, and money are not important in His kingdom. What matters is faithful obedience to God from the heart, which leads to genuine love for God and others and transforms lives, communities, and nations. The Sermon on the Mount challenged the proud and legalistic religious leaders of the day. It called them back to the messages of the Old Testament prophets, who, like Jesus, taught that heartfelt devotion to God and loving service to others matter more than religious observance. Enormous crowds were following Jesus. He was the talk of the town, and everyone wanted to see and hear him. The disciples, who were the closest associates of this popular man, were certainly tempted to feel important, proud, and possessive. Being with Jesus gave them not only prestige, but also opportunity for receiving money and power. The crowds were gathering once again, but before speaking to them, Jesus pulled his disciples aside and warned them about the temptations they would face as his associates. He defined his new kingdom community. Don't seek or expect fame and fortune, Jesus was saying, and don't be surprised by mourning, hunger, and persecution. Jesus' teachings were radically different than the teachings coming from most leaders in Jerusalem. Nevertheless, Jesus assured his disciples that God would reward them, though perhaps not in this lifetime. There may be times when following Jesus will bring us great popularity, but also expect ridicule, scorn, and even persecution, because the good news of Jesus can be offensive to people in this world. If we don't live by Jesus' words in this sermon, we will find ourselves using God's message only to promote our personal interests. The section of Jesus' teaching is often referred to as the Beatitudes. These verses can be understood in at least 4 ways. 1. They are a code of ethics and a standard of conduct for all believers. 2. They contrast kingdom values, what is eternal, with worldly values, what is temporary. 3. They contrast the superficial faith of the Pharisees with the real faith that Jesus demands. 4. They show how Old Testament expectations will be fulfilled in the new kingdom. The Beatitudes are not multiple choice, as if you could pick what you like and leave the rest. They must be taken as a whole. Jesus perfectly exemplified them, and we must aim to live as he did. Each beatitude tells how to be blessed by God. Being blessed means more than being happy. It describes the fortunate or privileged position of those who belong to God's kingdom. The Beatitudes don't promise pleasure or earthly prosperity. Being blessed by God means experiencing hope and joy, independent of the outward circumstances. To open the door to such hope and joy, which leads to the deepest form of happiness, we must walk across the threshold of suffering, sacrifice, and transformation. With Jesus' announcement that the kingdom was near, people were naturally asking, how do I qualify to be in God's kingdom? Jesus said that God's kingdom is organized differently from worldly kingdoms. In the kingdom of heaven, wealth and power and authority are unimportant. The first and primary quality needed is humility, recognizing your need for God. Kingdom people seek different blessings and benefits than people of the world, and they also have different attitudes. Do your attitudes reflect the humility and self-sacrifice of Jesus, your King? Jesus began his sermon with words that seemed to contradict each other, but God's way of living usually contradicts the world's. Jesus' life certainly contradicted the status quo and normal way of living in the first century. If you want to live for God, you must be ready to say and do what seems strange to the world, what other people may not understand or accept. You must be willing to give when others take, to love when others hate, to help when others abuse. By setting aside your own rights in order to serve others, you will one day receive everything God has in store for you. Jesus said to be happy when we're persecuted for our faith. Persecution can be good because it 1. Takes our eyes off earthly rewards, 2. Strips away superficial belief, 3. Strengthens our faith if we endure, and 4. Serves as an example to others who follow as they see the way we live while going through it. We can be comforted knowing that God's greatest prophets were persecuted, including Elijah, Jeremiah, and Daniel. The fact that Christians in many times and places around the world have been persecuted is evidence of faithfulness. Faithless people would be unnoticed in the future. In the future, God will reward the faithful by receiving them into his eternal kingdom, where no one will face persecution.